So I have a revisited review for you, and this time it is for the 2008 Punisher Warzone, starring Ray Stevenson. I haven't seen this film for some time, but I felt compelled to watch it. So, is this a film that hits its target, or is it a film that just punishes the senses? Let's talk about it. So welcome back to the channel, everyone, and welcome to hear this review for 2008's Punisher Warzone, the Marvel Comics action vigilante flick, the third film, the third Punisher film. Yes, the first one starred Dolph Lundgren in 1989, the second one Thomas Jane in 2004, and then 2008 we were given Punisher Warzone starring the late Ray Stevenson. Yes, unfortunately not a week ago as I'm filming this, we got news, sadly, that Ray Stevenson passed away at the young age of 58. Just shocking, came out of nowhere, lost for words. My heart goes out to his family and his friends. Now, I'm a big Punisher fan. I'm a huge Punisher fan. It's the one comic book character that I've always followed through my decades of comic book reading. Regardless of writer, artist, silliness the character's gone through, I was there following him. I just adore and love this character. But this here film is one that I don't return to too often. However, given the passing of Ray Stevenson, I felt compelled to watch it and talk about it. So here I am. So this film here, in the UK, this film actually came out on February the 6th of 2009, even though it is a 2008 movie. It was rated 18 for violence, obviously, and with a runtime of 1 hour and 43 minutes. Somewhat shorter than the Thomas Jane movie that clocked in at just over 2 hours. This film here was directed by Lexi Alexandra with a budget of $35 million, but it was a flop. It went on to only make worldwide $10 million at the worldwide box office. The film was written by Nick Santura, art Malcolm and Matt Holloway. Now this film here, this has a fantastic cast to it. It has a very strong cast. You've got Ray Stevenson in the role of Frank Castle, Punisher, Irish actor. Dominic West as Billy Rossotti, aka Jigsaw, Punisher's nemesis. Punisher doesn't have many nemesis in the comics because he's always killing them. Yeah, he doesn't have a rogues gallery like a lot of other characters because he's putting a double tap into their heads. The film also stars Julie Benz as Angela, who's a character actor that we know from things like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She was in Dexter as well. Doug Hutchinson as Looney Bin Jim, the brother of Billy Rossotti. Colin Salmon stars Wayne Knight, who you know from Jurassic Park, as Microchip. Another character that is from the pantheon of Punisher comics, and Dash Mihog as Martin Soap, again a character from the comics, a character that actually got his debut in Punisher Volume 5 Issue 2 in May 2000, written by Garth Ennis and drawn by Steve Dillon. He's from the newer era of Punisher comics. So this film here, the story. At the point we come into this film, we're introduced to the Punisher, and he's been doing what he's doing for about 4 years now. So he's racked up a load of bodies behind him. And in this film, he's going after crime families and all this sort of a thing. And in doing so, going after Billy Rossotti, who hasn't yet become Jigsaw, he does at the hands of the Punisher. Punisher inadvertently kills an undercover agent, thinking that he is one of the mob, and at the same time we get the birth of Jigsaw. Billy Rossotti is thrown into a vat of glass. that he's mixed up with, and it slices up all of his face, giving him this scarred up look. We again get the Punisher obviously questioning what he does and this sort of a thing, and you know, who punishes the Punisher kind of questions. All the while Billy has survived. He's taken on the mantle of Jigsaw, and he wants revenge on the Punisher. There's a B story about a biological weapon that's been smuggled into New York City and is going to be released. Billy, aka Jigsaw, goes on to get an army of individuals together to take down the Punisher. And that's pretty much the story for the film. Yeah, there's a lot more complexity to the story than just that. We are introduced to other characters. The character played by Julie Benz, she has a daughter because it was her husband that had died, was the agent that died, and the Punisher comes to visit her. He tries to give her some money for his daughter, for the daughter of the agent, I mean, not his daughter, obviously. And she rejects it and all this sort of a thing, but he has to take care of them. He has to look after them because Jigsaw and his motley crew and his brother Looney Bin Jim, they target her. They want to go after her to get to him, to get him to come out and all this sort of thing. We've got Microchip there. Microchip being the character from the comics, long-time Punisher helper, man in the chair, if you will. Martin Soap, the police officer that's heading up the Punisher Task Force. Again, a character introduced in the comics. He's there as well, but he's actually been helping the Punisher out behind curtains, shall we say. While heading up the task force, he does slip Punisher information on goings-on and this sort of thing. Colin Salmon plays an agent from the Bureau who wants to bring the Punisher in and starts working with Martin Soap. And you've got all this sort of stuff going on in the mix. There's a reason why I don't revisit this film often, right? I do think that this is the weakest of the 3 Punisher films that we've got. I do. I don't like the direction they took it. I don't like the way they came off of 2004's Punisher. What went on behind the scenes with that after the fact. Thomas Jane wanting a sequel, them not giving him a sequel. Thomas Jane fighting for it for a long time, then stepping away, and then all of a sudden announcing, hey, we're doing Punisher Warzone. That's not my primary issue, because in Ray Stevenson, I think you do have a fantastic Frank Castle. Ray Stevenson has the look, he has the physicality, and he has an emotional depth to him that he brings to this character in certain scenes. What I like about this film also is that it's the only one that has done his origin properly. The killing in the park. We don't see it, we sort of see flashbacks do it. It's just his wife, his 2 kids that are killed, gunned down. It's spoke about, whereas in the 2004 one, it's played around with. In the 1980 one, it's played around with also. So it's the one that gets it right. So for me, this isn't a sequel to the 2004 Thomas Jane film. This is a reboot in its own right. Now, again, with this film, I don't like the fact that they took the skull and they felt like they needed to reduce it. They needed to step back on showing that skull yet again. He does wear a skull top. It's very faint. It's not almost not there. It's hard to see. The skull itself is used in the comics as a target, something for people to shoot at, to draw fire to the body mass that is protected by body armour, Kevlar and what have you. Yeah, now, this film here, I'm watching it and it feels like I'm watching 2 films, 2 tonally different films. When you have Ray Stevenson and the Punisher stuff, it feels like I'm watching a rather serious Punisher movie, but whenever it jumps to Jigsaw or Billy, it feels like I'm watching a camp comic book film. He's taken this role, Dominic West, and he's turned it into some sort of a Joker-esque kind of a figure. Not scary in any way, parading around, prancing around, laughing like anything, marching down the street. It doesn't work in itself. This film here, I enjoy the film. I do enjoy the film, but I've got lots and lots of issues within the film. It's a film of two halves, a film where there's so much good in it, but it's juxtaposed by so much that is bad at the same time. The lighting of the film, the aesthetic that this film decided to take was neon-esque. A lot of it is shrouded in neon lighting, whether it be blue, greens, yellows, reds. It's like that. The violence in the film is great, don't get me wrong, I enjoy the violence side of it, but the opening scene, and I know people love the opening scene when he comes in and, you know, he sets off, the lights go out, he sets off the flare, he's on the table, he's stabbing people, he's throwing knives, he's shooting him in the head, and then he gets upside down from the chandelier. I cannot take this scene seriously in any way, shape or form, right? It looks clunky, it looks stupid. When he's on the table and he's like on his knees and he's spinning around and this sort of, it looks clunky. It looks like physically this is just a stupid way of doing this. And then to hang yourself upside down from a chandelier, okay, it might look cool, but again, logically, it makes no sense whatsoever to be doing that. That's my issue with the start of this film. The film has some good action in it, and Ray Stevenson handles it really well. He truly does. He's got nuances in his performance, little things that he does with his face, with his eyes, and you know, the first 25 minutes of this film, he doesn't speak. There's not a word out of him. The entirety of the beginning of this film is done with him in utter mute mode, and he has to deal with the killing of an agent. His remorse for the killing of the agent, some stuff at the funeral, some stuff where he gets upset because he's remembering the death of his family, and thusly it's all done without him verbalising anything. So the performance is all down to his face, to his eyes, to his mannerisms, which is fantastic. There's certain other things that little that I love in this film. He breaks his nose and he's like sniffing and this sort of thing. These little things, and he fixes it with a pencil. Cool. At the end, when he's doing the gun stuff in the building, and he does the thing where he like has to like unblock his ears, sort of, so he opens his mouth a bit to get the hearing working properly, till he hears the click of a gun down the hallway and he knows where to target. Again, fantastically done. But for all the good this film does, it's outweighed by a certain element of bad in the directing. The film itself, it doesn't know whether it wants to be, on the one hand, 100% serious or comedic at the same time, and that in itself is a shame, because like I said, and it's juxtaposed between these two characters, the Punisher and Jigsaw. Jigsaw's done in a very campy way, Punisher isn't, and they just don't gel together extremely well. But there you go, that's just my opinion on it. As a Punisher film, I enjoy it. It is the weakest of the three, but then I am biased towards its character, so I would likely enjoy anything with the Punisher in. However, I do see the issues with it. I can pinpoint the issues with it. I'm not blinded by that bias in that I'm saying that this is a fantastic movie. I can look at it, I can see faults in it. 2004 Thomas Jane Punisher film is by far my favourite, but again, there are elements of that. Now, where the 2004 Punisher film is more akin to the Garth Ennis Marvel Knights era that came out in the 2000s, this is more akin to Punisher Max era of Garth Ennis writing. And that in itself is great, but like I said, tonally it's a mess. Aesthetically, I don't know what they were thinking. Casting wise, brilliant cast, some strong performances, with the exception of Dominic West, really, I'll be honest. And the film does close up with a stupid humorous line from Detective Soap about having brains on him. This is what they were going for. It's not funny in any sense in it come the end of the film. Anyway, that's my thought on this film. I enjoy it, but it's a flawed movie. Anyway, I can talk Punisher for hours. I can go on and on about these films. I truly can. I just felt now was the time to revisit this. given Ray Stevenson's sad passing. I really, like we do with anything, an artist of any kind passes away, you might play their music, you might watch a film. It was that sort of a scenario, and being the big Punisher fan that I am, obviously I was going to watch the Punisher Warzone. So, again, condolences to Ray Stevenson's family and friends, those who knew him, those who worked with him. Sad day indeed. Sad piece of news came just this week. That's all I can say. Thoughts on this film in the comments down below, please. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care all, and goodbye.